Thank you so much for coming today. We will start the session in just 1 minute. Just 1 minute, so thank you. So thank you so much. We will start this session now. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for coming today. And let me briefly thank you so much for, we started a little bit late, but it was a little bit waiting for some people coming to the room. So today our session, as you can see, is the Global Innovation Bridge. We will discuss a different overview of the ecosystem in Taiwan, Malaysia, India, Hokkaido as well, and Fukuoka from my side. So let me give an opportunity to introduce themselves, our panelists today. So we can start from Jonathan, please.
Thanks, Pablo. Hello, everyone. My name is Jonathan Liao. I'm from Taiwan. I am the Managing Director of the International Talent Taiwan Office. It's a project office under the Taiwanese government to recruit more startup and digital talent, as well as other talent in other areas. So my office's responsibility is making sure everyone is able to come to Taiwan, live in Taiwan. We could help you find a reason and create these bridges. Thank you.
So, hello everyone. I'm Vijayalakshmi Karapasamy. I'm a founder and CEO of Fox Academy. Fox Academy is an edtech startup. We provide online artificial intelligence courses for Japanese market in English and Japanese. I'm from India. I live in Hokkaido. I'm a startup visa holder from Hokkaido government. So proudly say I'm the second Indian, I'm the first South Indian who got this startup visa from Japan government. And thank you, Bablu, for giving this wonderful opportunity. And I'm looking for this conversation along with the other panelists. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ken. I'm from Malaysia. Fun fact, I used to live in Japan 20 years ago. So it's good to be back, and I hope I can bring value to all of you today. So I run a company called Beamstart. We are a kind of a hybrid between a community for entrepreneurship and an online portal where entrepreneurs can get help, get resources or investor connections, hiring talent, accessing new markets. So we're trying to be the bridge for basically, we call it the 5 C's: capital, connections, capability, talent, customers, and counsel, which is basically knowledge, insights. Yeah. So do check us out, and I hope whatever I shared today will add a lot of value to all of you. Yeah. Thank you.
And from my side, I'm Pablo Riveros. I'm the founder and CEO of Manabu Hubs and Fukuoka Startup Collective. We are a private incubator. We start as a community, and then we move into be an incubator. We have different ecosystem in Taipei and also in Australia. And now we host different soft landing programs, helping startups to expand in Japan. But also we are helping Japanese companies to go overseas as well. And now here we have two founders of our ecosystem in front of us here, participate and came with to the SushiTech. But we have a small ecosystem in Fukuoka, but it's growing. So thank you so much for everyone. And now we will start with some question. We will have a very easygoing conversation. But I will start asking you guys, the first question is, what is the biggest challenge that startups face when expanding across different countries? And maybe we can start with you, if you don't mind, BG. So.
Sure. It's a wonderful question, of course. So the main challenge, I really wanted to be very honest. As a startup visa holder, like our journey is very different than other, people who expanded business to Japan. So the first challenge, what I personally gone through, the more than language barrier, the business culture challenge. It was so tough for us to understand, to communicate with a local, player, especially, from India. Like we are kind of very aggressive when it comes to startup. Like I'm in business more than 14 years, like 13 years in India, and when I moved to Japan, I really felt I'm starting everything from scratch. Every the communication, which is the most challenging part. Personally, I felt the second part is it's a trust-based market. So we have to do everything to build the trust. So we have to be very careful, even from the LinkedIn post, like everything, we have to be very careful what we are, communicating. So these main challenge, and apart from that, as a AI startup founder, the main challenge is education, the reskilling. Here, self-learning, because market needs a local resource, but the main problem, so here we have policy, and even leaders understood like what is a need we have to implement. The main challenge, the end user, acceptance from the end user side, it was quite low. So it was so tough for us to make them to understand why they have to learn technology. Everyone keeps saying Japan, I'm not here to complain because I am in your home. That is the one thing I always very careful. So we just trying to understand the system. We just trying to accept what is the challenge in front of us. So the main challenge, acceptance from the end user side. That is the main challenge. Personally, as a EdTech startup, we faced, but of course, almost 2 years. Now we also learning along with other players. Yes, that is the main challenge. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Wei. And how about you, Kent? Your own experience on that?
Yeah. So people need oxygen to survive, right? So I think for startups, the oxygen is money, right? You need money to survive, and I think startup founders are smart people. If you point them in the right direction, they know where to go. But I think one of the biggest challenges that startups face is how they can get money, right? And money can come in a few forms. It can be revenue, sales. It could be capital, right? Funding. Could be loans. But I think fundamentally, for any loan or any investment to take place, you need sales, right? No one's going to invest in something that doesn't make money. And so I think if you want to help a startup, the most important thing you got to help them achieve is a way for them to find customers, initial clients. And so coming from my perspective, from Malaysia, Singapore, basically I'm in Southeast Asia, right? Southeast Asia has about 600 over million people, and many people who come from Southeast Asia like to promote Southeast Asia as, oh, it's 600 million people. But what many people don't know is that Southeast Asia has 10 countries and 10 different cultures, 10 different governments. Their religions are all different. Even in Malaysia alone, there are three major races, right? Malays, Chinese, and Indians. And each race has different languages. They speak English or Chinese, Tamil or English, or Malay and English, So, and they believe in different things. So, because of all these different fragmentations, I think, entering Southeast Asia is kind of challenging. And so if you ever plan to expand your business to that part of the world, I would recommend maybe Malaysia as a place to start because number one, it's an English dominant market. It's a very good place to test a lot of things. The infrastructure is very good. It's almost the same as Singapore, but 1/3 the price. The government is very supportive for new ventures. You don't need to be a Malaysian to start a company. You only need one director to actually run the company. Banking is not as rigid as Japan, I think. It's quite hard to actually set up a bank account here. Malaysia is slightly more lenient. If you're a startup and you have an interesting business proposal, there is, I think, a 2-year and a 5-year visa. So it's a very good test bed. But the problem with Malaysia and Singapore is that the market is too small. It's only about 30, if you combine them, it's about 40 million people, and there are too many different types of people, right? But the talent in these two countries allows you to reach 2 billion people because the Chinese can speak Mandarin, the Indians can speak Tamil, and the Malays can speak Indonesian. Malay and Indonesian is quite similar, actually. And so that gives you very wide potential reach in terms of running a business. And so a lot of companies that come to Malaysia, they actually do business abroad. And those that do very well, they actually sell to the US or to Japan and they stay in Malaysia at 1/3 the cost. And so, so back to your question, what are the biggest challenges? I think in order to make money, you have to understand the culture, you have to understand the people, and that becomes the barrier most of the time in expansion. Even if you come to Japan, you have to understand how Japanese do things, and that makes it hard, right? So I would say that would be my take on this, yeah.
And Jonathan, how about you in your experience working and living in Taiwan?
I would agree kind of with Ken. I mean, any startup, you do need to find your product market fit. But in the same way, you need to find, if you want expanding into Asia, which territory you're going into, what are the strengths of your team, and what are the strengths of the destination that you want to be in. So either in India, Malaysia, or Taiwan, so each country has its strengths and weaknesses. So that assessment is the biggest challenge I think that startups will have. So in Taiwan, we're even smaller than Malaysia. We're about 23 million people, but very strong in engineering talent, very strong in manufacturing. So those are the strengths that Taiwan has that could fit depending on what your product and your idea is. So as part of Taiwan, so we do, there's a lot of funding and visa options that also to facilitate, to allow people to work in Taiwan. Taiwan's very safe and very similar to Japan. So I do highly recommend people come to visit. But again, I think it's, the fit for every startup is different. Are you looking for funding? Which markets are you after? It could be maybe a different language. Taiwan is mainly Mandarin, but we also do serve, the Taiwan and European, US market as well. So it really kind of depends on which your backgrounds, your team, and which fit, I think is quite important because wherever you go, you will be living and working in that place for a majority of your time, even if you can move around Asia very frequently. So you want to make sure that wherever you relocate, it has the right soft landing services through incubators, through local co-working spaces, and so forth. So that's my suggestion for startups.
Thank you. From my perspective, supporting different founders and ecosystem players to expand in Japan, the challenges that they face, and always I discuss with them, sometimes it's the cultural differences. I think when you move new operations in a new country, it's very important to understand the culture. And not only that, the language as well. So when, for example, in our ecosystem is located in Fukuoka, that Fukuoka is far from Tokyo, and it's not too international ecosystem, it's very local. So when you move there, you really need to find key partners. It could be partners from the government side, it could be partners from the private sector, but in the end, we as ecosystem players, we always recommend to founders to always find local partners. Even when you want to pitch to companies, we always recommend you should hire interpreters local from Kyushu because they know how the system. And Japan is an island in which each prefecture has different players, and it's very important to know very well how ecosystem works. So that's kind of from my side. Let's move to the second question, and I think we will start from you, Jonathan, about what do you think, how can startup leverage the partnership between ecosystem, for example, in Taiwan or other?
I mean, I think in Asia, especially because there's so many different, areas and regions. So, for Taiwan, it's a very small country, territory. We don't think that the market isn't necessarily enough for many of the startups. So you do need to work with other ecosystem partners. So it could be different areas to Softland to find business partners, funding partners. Many of the VCs in Taiwan, they actually are working around Asia. So there's a delegation in Taiwan right now at SushiTech. They'll be there all afternoon tomorrow as well. So to find these ecosystem partners, it's quite important, I think, around Asia. We also help with visas, with different, it could be the most basic services that you require, but also moving into more business registration and eventually funding, finding talent, recruiting your next founder, your co-founder, and so forth. So I do suggest that reaching out to the local ecosystem partners, they usually have the best resources of what's in their areas.
How about you, BG, in Hokkaido?
Yeah, I have two different type of answer for this question. Honest, of course, I agree with Jonathan's answer. Like, resource is very important. Local resource is very important. Like, people keep talking about technology evolution. So based on my understanding, like I'm watching this market almost like since 2019. So I can see a lot of progress is going on. So one thing I keep notice, like dependency when it comes to IT resource, there is a huge dependency towards other market, especially like India. So we are like a global supplier, right? Like almost, especially in India, Japan, almost last 50 years, there is a lot of engineers from either from India or Vietnam. So my perspective, we need local resource. If you want to implement something like, we are talking about big things. We need Japanese professionals. So Fox Academy, like my company name is Fox Academy. Like we are outsourcing. We are here to create Japanese AI professionals. So that based on my understanding, like it's very clear we need Japanese local resource. For that, we have to collaborate with international talents. Like, of course, as a leader perspective, of course, even startups has to collaborate. Here, startup, I feel it's like, they are treating startup as like a corporate. We are not a corporate. We are like something, kind of crazy people. That craziness will bring innovation. That will bring, creative. That is, I'm not saying it's missing, but that is the kind of thing it's lagging in this market. So we need, because it's a closed, ecosystem, right? So I feel there is a lot of communication gap between Japan and the global market. So we need to bring something where they can see what is going on in outside of Japan. So even our Fox Academy course, in our platform, they can connect with Indian engineers. So they have to meet their potential competitor. They have to know how we are getting ready for the global market, how we are become like a very strong global supplier when it comes to IT. So the point, the collaborative learning, collaborative like ecosystem, that partnership is very, very important. That is complete, I have to say it very honest, it's lagging in this market, which we have to focus on that. Yeah, that is my very clear point, for this question. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I think when you run a company, you have to trust a lot of people. And if you expand to a new market, you have to trust a lot more people that you may not really know. And I think the role that we call them ecosystem builders, right? Because fundamentally, if you are a business and there's another company, you partner and you collaborate, it's more on a business level, right? But ecosystem enablers or ecosystem builders, their role is I mean, their role is in supporting companies in doing well, right? And so meaning their business is in helping companies. And so I think they play a very important role in bridging. I mean, there are a lot of things they can connect, like investors or talent. But I think the main currency here is trust and knowing the right people in certain markets and the way to do things in those markets, or ways to do things so that you don't offend people in that market. I think they are very important. And oftentimes these enablers, they know how to go about doing it in that market, and they know other enablers as well. And so like I think like Startup Island, they know like InnoLab, Kumpul, and all these different countries, right, that have their own players, and they can easily make an introduction for you. It's probably one of the quickest ways to meet someone new that trust is already sort of built. And yeah, I would say that if I could rebuild my company again, the first thing I would do when going to a new market is to find all these like local ecosystem players and ask them for help. And oftentimes we think it's the government, but the problem with the government is that many times the government people are not on ground, and they have limited scale. They can't do so many things, and so and it's a different sustainable model, right? So for the government, they have limited capacity, but for some of these companies, maybe they charge a small fee, but they can accelerate a lot of things for you in a very short period of time if you just paid a small fee to them. And so yeah, I'm just this is my take on it. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. And I think back to what BG say about the co-creation, I think this is very important. The co-creation, the co-build, the co-create an ecosystem. To give you an example, in my ecosystem in Fukuoka, it's just very small, and we cannot compare it with Tokyo. But the only things that we can do is co-creation, co-partners, and that's collaborative effort. It's super important. Because when you find your right partners, you find your right collaborators, you can succeed faster and fail less. Startup, we tend to fail a lot, but when you find the right partners, it could help you to growth and also to potentially avoid some mistake. Back to the first question, when you find local partners in Japan, especially in Japan, it's super important to also understand the code the Japanese people manage that we don't know as a foreigners. And it came also back to the first conversation of the understand and discover the cultural differences as well. And I think I would like to extend a little bit more with Jonathan about the second question, because you also work in a very important, the talents in Taiwan. So could you please, also it's connected with visa programs as well. So it would be nice to know more about that.
Sure. Thanks, Pablo. I mean, I think I've been quite fortunate to work on these visa programs for Taiwan. Essentially, through people, I get to see a lot of things that are happening, especially in startups, because I think startup people tend to be the most flexible. And so what Taiwan has done since 2020 is they first started with the Employment Gold Card program, which allows people to certain qualifications, could be salary, could be academic achievements, to obtain a 3-year resident visa to come to Taiwan and essentially explore. So it's a gold card that's different than the US one. It doesn't require $5 million. It doesn't require an investment or a residency. It's essentially an open letter, invitation letter that allows you to come to Taiwan and try your startup or to start a business. And through that, I think talent is a core part of any startup. So you have an idea, but you need people to build it with. And then you do need to find the funding and the ecosystem partners in order to round everything out. So for me, it does kind of start with people. In any new country, you do need a visa to start with. So essentially, if anyone wants to experience Taiwan, that's an open invitation. I would love to help you to find a visa that works for you. Could be the gold card. There's also a digital nomad visa that lets you experience Taiwan as a digital nomad as well. But essentially, I think many of the programs around Asia as well, I know Malaysia has some as well, to allow people to find their new place to live and the people that they could potentially work with. So especially as a startup, I think that's one of the greatest things. It's different than corporates. You do have a broader vision, and you have a broader ecosystem that really wants to support you. So take advantage of it.
And I think for the same question, Ken, I guess you run one of the largest startup ecosystem and conference in Malaysia, the Beamstart, and you also participate in many investors matchmaking. And I think that's maybe you can give us some examples, because also I believe that the partnership between ecosystems is not about also government, private sector as well, and investors as well. So maybe if you can.
Yeah, sure. So about 9 years ago, I actually started my first startup. It's not my first business, but it's my first startup. And in like 1 year, the company almost lost all my money because I was hiring people to build the product, and then like I was hiring them online and offline, and and basically we were just burning so much money, and we didn't have that much traction. And you know, I'm new to this whole startup thing, and so the rational thought process is, okay, let's go raise money, right? Let's go find some investor. And I heard there's this thing called venture capital. Let's go and find venture capitalists. And I think I pitched to like almost maybe close to 200 VCs. This is back then when startup was very new in Malaysia, and Singapore was kind of like popular among startups. And of course, we couldn't raise any money, and I had like 2 months runway left. So I decided, okay, I'm gonna close this company down. But I thought to myself, like, why isn't there something that could help me when I'm building this company, right? And I mean, today we have a lot of these support systems, but back then there wasn't a lot of this. And so most people say, oh, why don't you go find government grant? But government grants are so little, right? When maybe only 10 people get it a year. And then another one was like, oh, why don't you go find accelerators? So there was some accelerators coming up in Singapore and Malaysia, but there are also limited spaces available. And if you get in, good, you get some support. But what about those people who didn't get in, right? So I thought, hey, is there something that could help people like an accelerator without you having to join an accelerator, or maybe you could either get it free or pay a small fee, or if it's online based and they could subscribe or register for it and get this support, right? And so that's how we started our company. We started up by running an event, and we wanted to find investors to come for this event, but so many startups came to the event and they all had the same problem. And so I know I'm going quite long in this story, but basically ecosystem builders, they have a broad understanding of different people in the ecosystem. They know the government, they know how the government thinks. Oh, governments have KPI, right? They have programs, and then they understand how VCs think. Okay, VCs, they're kind of like scared of startups because everyone's pitching to them, right? But they want companies that can scale and exit. And many startups, they cannot grasp that concept of selling their company because it's their baby, right? So the point is that ecosystem builders understand a little bit of everything, and they can actually point the trajectory of a company in the right direction. And that small point in the right direction actually goes a very long way. So back to your point, I think by knowing some of these people, these players, I think they actually help you understand the investor landscape. And so in Southeast Asia, the investor sentiment is very bad right now because of two reasons. The first reason is because most of the unicorns that have so-called exited have not brought much return from their exit. So if you look at Grab, they haven't recovered from the listing price, right? Go2 Group, which is Gojek, and Tokopedia, they listed in Indonesia. Also, the share price is down, I think, like 70%. Most Southeast Asian companies can't list in Southeast Asia for a very high valuation because most of the public markets in that part of the world don't support that valuation. So they go to Hong Kong. And Hong Kong is also kind of like, you know how it is. So the only other market to go to is the US, right? And everyone's going there. You got to be the best to actually make it there. So Grab, which is the Uber competitor in Southeast Asia, went there, but no one there knows Grab, right? Except they know SoftBank invested in Grab, but they don't know Grab. So it's really competitive and really hard. So yeah, that's my take on it. So I think knowing some of these players actually opens a lot of doors. And
Absolutely.
yeah, the second thing about the investor sentiment is that e-fishery. I don't know if you guys heard of e-fishery. There's one Indonesian unicorn that turned out to be a fraud. So $300 million was lost, I think. And so a lot of investors in Southeast Asia are quite skeptical about investing in startup currently. And so I think that will improve over time. But startups need to have very good unit economics in order to appeal to the investor crowd right now.
Thank you so much. And Vijay, because you're foreigner like myself, as an entrepreneur living in Japan, how's your experience to creating this kind of build your ecosystem or partnerships in Hokkaido or in Sapporo? So could you please tell us your experience?
Sure. Everyone knows I'm an unofficial spokesperson for Hokkaido because Hokkaido is my home. I love Hokkaido. Definitely, I have my own reason why I chose Hokkaido. It's not like just, I didn't choose Hokkaido just for that. The moment we decided, yes, we are moving to Japan, we did our homework before choosing because as a as an entrepreneur, the ecosystem is very, very important. Choosing the right ecosystem because I'm from like southern part of India, but I moved to Bangalore to start my business journey. I started my business journey when I was 21. So the Bangalore is the place where it changed me a lot. Like I became the person right now because of Bangalore. So that is the power of ecosystem. So the same thing when I decided to move to Japan. I did I did my own research. Even I came down to Japan for 2 weeks to understand to especially for the market research. So I communicated with every ecosystem, including Shibuya, somewhat. Even I went to Hokkaido Innovation Week 2023 to meet the Hokkaido government team. There is a person named called Miho-san. So she was the main reason why most of us we chose Hokkaido because she was part of Shibuya. Then I know her for a very long time. So the reason I chose Hokkaido, it's very clear. Everyone, the vision is very clear. So they are startup Hokkaido government, and in a entrepreneurship like the new entrepreneurs who we landed, and so we all work together, including the local. We feel so inclusive. I used to say this, the moment I land Sapporo, I feel like I'm home. So that feel is very, very important. We have to feel inclusive. Otherwise, if you don't feel like belong to that ecosystem, you cannot live here. That inclusiveness very, very important. So I personally felt I traveled almost like Agoshima to Wakan. I traveled everywhere to understand the system. It's not like we didn't choose just like that because Japan is not like a other market. It's money consuming market. Every day is it's we have to spend. So we did. So personally, I did all the research. Then I chose Hokkaido. That is very true. I'm very happy with my decision because we can say we can share the challenge what we are going through. That they are listening us. That is until now, and they are introducing us because, like you said, startups. Sales is very important. The first customer is very important. We have to make revenue. Start, especially the startup visa concept, not only for we are not getting visa to move to Japan. We are not coming to Japan to live here. We are here to make business. We are here to make business, right? So that support we are getting from Hokkaido very well. So that is another very, very strong reason. And yes, of course, everything was so new when I moved to Japan, especially if you're a foreign female founder, it's a different tagline. No, you have to go through a different type of challenge because very simple example, here no eye contact. In India, without saying eye, how can I make conversation? But here, if I see anyone make conversation, if I see their eyes, they're looking down, I feel like, should I talk or not? Like this, especially if you're a woman, it's a different thing. They are seeing you are a kind of arrogant. No, that is the way we trained up. So, and there is no handshake. And even receiving business cards are different. There is a process to give your business card and to receive your. So everything was kind of challenge. So Hokkaido, they help us to learn this new culture. That is another very strong reason why, even though there is a lot of challenges going on, Still we prefer to be in Hokkaido. That doesn't mean, as an ecosystem, we are traveling together. So I think if you are moving to Japan market, finding the right ecosystem, it's very, very important. Yeah.
That's great. Thank you. And I think you mentioned something very important. How important is the ecosystem, the local support? We felt the same opposite in the other side of Japan, in Kyushu, in Fukuoka. And I think also for my perspective, why we choose Fukuoka, it's because they invite us. So they pay us to incorporate our company. That was the reason. But the other reason for us, it was geographically the location. So for me, I was very want to be close to our good friends from Taiwan. I love Taiwan, and also Korea, and also a huge economy that is China. So if we think of it in that perspective of launching product for us or a startup, it was really good, the location to choose Fukuoka for that strategic reason. But yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. So I think we will go to the last question and discussion that I will start with you, Jonathan, and it's about what is one policy, program, or trend that you could make big changes in this 2025 that you can think it's about the collaboration. For example, the visa that you work on that.
I think depending on which market you go into, which ecosystem partner you want to team up with, you do need a pathway to that place. So for Taiwan, it starts with the visa. We are actively recruiting people from different backgrounds, different age groups, different nationalities. We do want to be as open as we can to invite people to come to Taiwan and find their fit. It could be in manufacturing, it could be in AI, it could be in cybersecurity or green energy developments. So these are all opportunities that Taiwan is good at and wants to improve on. So with people coming through, so these are the policies that they're focused on that hopefully we can help build the next, great big startup in Taiwan. Everyone knows about TSMC. NVIDIA is building their next research facility, AMD is there, ASML is there, but that whole supply chain drives a lot of, big tech in a sense, as well as biotech. So these are all more hardware-based, but at the same time, moving very quickly into software integrations and different applications. And ultimately, it starts with people coming to that place, coming to Taiwan in my case. So hopefully we can find more people that want to build their next startup there, and then we can provide our services and resources to you.
Sure. Japan is a brand, it's a tag, it's a very strong tagline. The reason people keep asking me, why Japan, why Hokkaido? It's very, very straightforward answer. Even though, everyone looking, in India is, very strong startup ecosystem. The reason it's overcrowded. So we are building our brand, we're expanding a brand to another market. So the reason why we chose Japan, it's a brand. So the moment you say you have a business in Japan, the value which you are getting from including a personal profile, like professional profile and business, the business opportunities which you are getting from other market, it's increasing. So we have to see Japan market in a different way, not only Japanese market. You should know how to sell, having business in Japan. That is one point. Second one is skilling and reskilling. That is the key thing which I think we have to, because there is a lot of policies coming up, there is a lot of industries, even Hokkaido recently, we become a fourth special economic zone. There is a lot of new projects. We need resource. Current resource, 33%, they are going to get retired in another 5 years, almost 33% of current resource, they are going to get retired in another 5 years. It's $8 billion market. It's not a small market, it's ocean. So skilling and reskilling is very important to maintain this legacy. See, I'm not here to complain. Definitely I know what benefit I'm getting from this, the country. So I wanted this legacy has to continue. For that, we need to, we need to invest on that. The correct, especially the skilling part. So that is the one thing I strongly believe, and that is the reason why we are keep fighting this market to take our the part. Yes, this market has huge potential if you have a proper strategy.
Thank you. And how about you, Kenneth, about that? What is the policy program or trend that you could see revolutionize the collaboration in this year?
Yeah, so I think there's two parts to this. So the first part is what we are doing. So I think for us, what I see the sort of like the future is that I hope that we could build something where entrepreneurs can get help easily and effectively, and maybe even they can do it on their own in the long term. So what we're building an online portal where you can get access to all the different communities, funding resources, government agencies, where you can just basically go there and find it. I know there are a lot of places that have this information in different parts, but it's surprising that none of these are aggregated into one place, right? I would just want to find everything in Japan, right? And I can't seem to find it. So we're just going to do that. Of course, the question that he sent me has trends in it. And I don't know, I think the world is moving into a very weird direction right now because, so let's talk about Japan, right? I think Japan is undergoing a lot of change right now. Because of the rise of China, and disruption is global, right? And not just because of China. So China has kind of wiped out most industry, right? Where they're producing everything. And I think now EVs are coming in to Japan, and eventually EVs are going to become more compelling than maybe gas-powered cars. And many companies you have to catch up. And these are some of the biggest industries in Japan that are being targeted right now, right? The second thing is AI is kind of scary as well. So I have some friends so I have this friend who runs an AI chatbot that does all his appointment booking. So basically, he runs a Facebook ad, all the leads come in, and this bot just talks to every single one of them and schedules appointments. And the funny thing is, they don't even know it's a bot, right? We're moving in that direction where AI is going to be pretty very capable. And I think in the coming years, we're going to start to see more robotics come out into the market. And robotics will basically do everything. At some point, maybe do what we do. And so I think there will be that shift where a lot of people will, there's this saying, one famous VC said that, oh, AI doesn't take away your jobs. It just takes away your tasks. No, I don't think that's true. I think if we can do what you do, it's going to take away those jobs, right? And a lot of people, especially the lower, the blue collar, robotics is going to replace a lot of these people, and we're going to move into a different world. So I think Japan is kind of like heading into that world where a lot of disruption of the traditional industries are taking place, and AI is also like, and of course the population crisis. So a lot of foreigners are coming to Japan, and so in a way, Japan is going to probably change a lot culturally, and maybe even they will have to give up a lot of the processes that they used to hold on to very dearly. And so I think it's a good thing. I think there is opportunity for a lot of change that is good. And I can see that they're doing a lot of good work in Fukuoka because they're making it into like an international hub for entrepreneurship. And so, I think the future is bright, but we have to be I guess we have to be very aware of what's happening around us and where the opportunities are. And so I think many people who do lose their jobs will end up doing a business. And if there's a way they can get help more effectively, then these businesses can thrive and things move in a positive direction. Yeah, so that's my take on it.
Thank you. From my side, one of the trends that I could see from the last 3 years is digital nomads. Digital nomads start growing exponentially in Japan. When I was living in Australia, it's very well known, the backpackers. So everyone's go to Australia traveling backpackers. But I believe that the backpackers transform into digital nomad. And I think in Japan just adopted the digital nomads 3 years ago. When I was living in Australia 20 years ago, they already exist the digital nomad backpackers lifestyle. So I think that's it's changing actually a lot of things. The policies maker. Japan didn't have a digital nomad visa 2 years ago. So what happened when we see many foreigners coming to Japan, they want to work remotely, how we can manage the taxation policies, how we can keep these people in Japan, how those people, founders, they can become founders. So those questions started happening 3 years ago. Japan didn't have this trending. And I think that's going to be, personally, we experience in our ecosystem, in which we see digital nomads being one of 15% of our ecosystem now in Manabu Hub. we can see that digital nomad come to, for example, Fukuoka. And Fukuoka is launching a program that is called Live Fukuoka, in which they attract digital nomads. And those digital nomads, in the future, they could become founders. And that is the good in terms of, in the long terms, those people came to the city, but how you can retain those people, talent. The only way is to become a founder or entrepreneurs in the city. So I think for personally, in my own experience, I see this trend growing, and I believe in the next couple of years will be way more bigger. And in that case, as Kenan mentioned, Fukuoka is well prepared in that sense. They are doing a lot of policies, leading a lot of programs to attract nomads and startup as well. So thank you so much. And now we want to move into very short and a closing question. But the final thoughts, and I want to ask each of you, very, very short. What is one actionable tips that you can provide to the founders or the audience regarding our topic today, Global Innovation Bridge? We can start with you, Kenneth.
Sorry, yeah. Well, I think the world is becoming very digital, and it is actually very possible to sell things online very easily today. And I think that is it is such a simple thing, but sometimes we get very carried away by the shiny object syndrome, right? Like, oh, let's do startup or AI. But fundamentally, it's what kind of value can you create that makes people's lives a bit easier, and sometimes people are willing to pay you for that value, and if enough people pay you for that value, you have an income stream and you have sustainability, right? So I would say probably for startups, yeah, focus more on the being sustainable first before trying to raise a lot of money or expand very aggressively. I believe, and this is just my opinion, I believe there is something great in small because people tend to look at, oh, we like big things, right? But the bigger a company gets, the more stress there is as well. And you can probably achieve a lot of what big companies achieve with today's level of automation. And with fewer people, you have a healthier, profitable company, right? So, of course, it may not be so good in the job market, but I do believe that you have more, with profitability, you can invest in other areas as well. So, yeah.
Thank you. Very short. We don't have only 5 minutes, guys, left. So please, Vijit.
Sure. I strongly believe education is the power. Entrepreneurship is the key to make changes. The reason why I wanted to become an entrepreneur, I'm from agriculture family. My father is a farmer. I'm the first generation entrepreneur in my family. The reason I wanted to make the changes in my society, like, I wanted to show, if you want to solve the problem, you are, society, you should use the technology to solve the problem. So technology and the problem solver, it's like statement is very interconnected. So as a founder, I strongly believe these two things are very, very important. So it doesn't matter, success is defined person to person. For me, the experience, this entrepreneurship journey, how how made me a person, right? The girl who just started, when I was in 21, I just started a business. This journey took me to a different world. I really enjoy this journey, irrespective of financial success. As a founder, we all coming into one category. It doesn't matter whether you are a Japanese entrepreneur or Indian entrepreneur, doesn't matter. The moment we say entrepreneur, we all coming into one category. Our language is very different. Our way of thinking is very different. Accept the challenge. It's normal. You are not only going to the pain. Everyone is the pain. As an entrepreneur, we are going through the same pain. It's so real. Accept the challenge. Just do everything to create the innovation. Do everything to create the impact. So that is as a creator, as an innovator, I strongly believe entrepreneurship is very, very important. It plays very significant role in any economy. So we have to accept. We need to see entrepreneurship as a normal thing. Here, one thing I can see. The moment we say, I'm an entrepreneur, they are seeing as different kind of human. No, it's normal. We are normal, but we are thinking, different type of, challenge, right? So enjoy this journey. It's painful. It's painful journey. If we are just pretending like we are successful. It's a very painful journey, but we are creating the impact. So believe that. Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you. How about you, Jonathan? Your last closing.
Mine will be quick. As the title says, I mean, it seems like most of the people here are from a different country, different place. I mean, I think my suggestion for everyone is build a bridge. Be that bridge, connect people, connect different networks. That ultimately helps everyone. Many countries are burning bridges. Let's not do that. Let's build bridges.
That's very good. And at the same time, to final my thought, it's let's connect. So we will closing the session now, but we have an networking, so you can grab your tickets. We can grab a beer or coffee, whatever you want outside, and you can also connect with our speakers. So thank you so much. If we can give an applause to our speakers, and also those SushiTech pass holder. There is another event of a party in the receptions in the city. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming today. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you, Venture Cafe, for hosting us as well. So.